big problem. No, it's not World War III. It is bigger, literally. I'm talking about obesity, which Medicine Net defines as, quote, a person who has more than 20% over their ideal weight, taking into account the person's height, age, sex, and build, end quote. Although people think that obesity is just a weight problem, it is not. Obesity is now considered a disease that could lead to many various related illnesses, such as diabetes 2, heart attack, and high blood pressure. For example, a study conducted by the researchers at the University of Glasgow in Scotland found that when they compare obese middle-aged men to a non-obese middle-aged man, the obese men have a 60% increased risk of dying from heart attack, even without any effects of cholesterol, blood pressure, and other cardiovascular risk factors. A similar research conducted by the American Heart Association found that as many as 50% of obese men and women will also have high blood pressure. In addition to affecting a person's physical state, obesity can affect a person's mental state. A 2010 study found that people who were obese will have a 55% increase of developing depression over their life than people who weren't obese. So with this in mind, how did obesity become such a big problem in America, and can we stop it? Well, it is not surprising that obesity dramatically increased from 14% in 1960 to 40% in 2019. However, what caused this rise in obesity levels? Fast food industries may seem like the only culprit to this problem, at 36.6% of Americans eating fast food on any given day. However, the answer is not all that clear-cut, as many other factors also contribute to Americans' obesity epidemic. I believe a top contributing factor to America's problem is that food portions at restaurants and homes are much bigger than they used to be, and we are bombarded with ads that bait us into eating unhealthy food. Also, we live in a sit-on-the-couch society where people don't move around as much as they used to, both in the house and jobs. If y'all look at the food portions from the 1950s and compare it to today's portion, there's a vast difference. For example, back then McDonald's served burgers that were only 3.7 ounces, but now their regular burgers, such as the quarter-pounder deluxe, almost triple the size of the 1950s burger at a whopping 9.2 ounces. Not only did they increase their burger size, but they also increased their drink size and their fry size. Although we associate the enormous increase in food portions with fast food, sit-down restaurants such as the cheesesteak factories are also guilty of this. So why do the CEOs of these restaurants serve such a big portion of food, knowing that they are contributing to America's obesity epidemic? Simple. The answer is money. Restaurants have little control over their costs as they have to pay for labor, equipment, and other things, even if no customers come in. Therefore, the only things they can control are the food price and the food amount. So, restaurants use sneaky tactics to serve you meals that seem like a perfect deal or more profitable to the restaurants. For example, if a restaurant sells you a $5 meal with a 10% profit, they can get an extra 50 cents. However, if they can sell you a meal that is twice as big for $10, they can make an extra $1. This is because food like fries are so expensive that restaurants can sell them in large quantities, which is why you see restaurants such as McDonald's always asking you if you want to increase the size of the meal. Selling big food portions like these leads to obesity, but restaurant companies also post ads to bait consumers into eating their unhealthy food. This tactic can be made obvious in 2016 Burger King commercial.
Burger King offers more for $4 with 5 for $4. Now get a plain grilled bacon cheeseburger, crispy 4-piece nuggets, thick cut fries, a drink and a cookie for just $4. It's not just a deal, it's a full meal. 5 items, $4. Get them now, only at Burger King.
By showing us that a bacon cheeseburger, 4 chicken nuggets, fries and a drink, and a cookie only costing $4, Burger King created a perception to the consumers that more food means more value. Well, it might be true, but it will also lead to obesity. However, we can't just blame it on fast food. We have to take some blame ourselves. As Americans, we're accustomed to thinking that bigger is always better. Therefore, we feel like we get the most out of our hard-earned money for a more substantial meal. Ask any Americans, they will probably say that the size of the food portion is one reason they continue to return to a restaurant. With a mindset like this, it is no wonder why Americans are so obese. But food is not the only thing that is making Americans more obese. It is also the lack of exercise. Dr. Timothy S. Church, a noted exercise researcher at the Pennington Biomedical Research Center, said, quote, "If we're going to try to get to the root of what's causing the obesity epidemic, work-related physical activity needs to be in the discussion," end quote. He is right. Just look at our jobs today. In the 1960s, 50% of jobs required moderate physical activity. Today, however, has dropped to 20%. This is due to many factors, such as the decline in farming jobs and manufacturing jobs. Another example is that people with service and desk jobs never had many physical activities to begin with. However, with the increase in reliance on internet and email, people are moving less than before, which eventually leads to obesity. This lack of exercise is not just in the workplace, but also at home. I know I'm guilty of this, and many of y'all are also. But kids and adults today watch way too much television and don't go outside to play or exercise like they used to. There was even a study back in 2011 by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition that found a correlation between watching television and gaining weight. The research found that with every extra hour watching TV, a person would have a 2.2-pound increase in body fat. With research such as this and countless others, it has been proven numerous times that a person needs to exercise to decrease his or her chances of being obese. However, many Americans who are considered obese shy away from any exercise program of any kind. It's probably a good idea as people with extra weight can do certain exercises because it may be too painful or just too physically demanding. The American Heart Association suggests that overweight beginners should ease into an exercise routine that requires them to exercise at least 30 minutes for 5 days per week. So what kind of exercise should overweight people do? According to the American Heart Association, any physical activity counts as exercise as long as people burn some calories. I believe that there is an endless amount of activities that overweight people can do. For example, unless you don't have legs, walking should be something that anyone can do. Not only is it free, but it's also a low-impact exercise where you can do it nearly anywhere. Don't like to walk? Maybe consider water aerobics. The water can support the body weight and reduce the impact of the joints, and thus the pain from carrying the weight on land is virtually non-existent in water. Don't like water? Maybe try yoga. Yoga challenges people with hard poses, which in turn helps people not only to lose weight, but also develop muscle tone and improve metabolism. The bottom line is, any exercise are great for the body. However, people need to take the initiative to get up from the couch and actually start an exercise routine. So, from a presentation of obesity, it might seem like we cannot stop the obesity epidemic. However, we must realize that there is no simple solution to obesity. It is a complex problem that everyone has to pitch in to solve. For example, the business leaders of the food industry need to develop healthier options instead of wasting money on making ads that promote unhealthy food. Some people need to learn that bigger portions are not always better. Lastly, people have to understand to beat obesity, they have to develop a healthier lifestyle, filled with exercise and healthy eating habits. It may be hard at first to convince people, but if any of y'all have family and friends who's just sitting on the couch watching television for hours, tell them to get up and inform them about the negative impact of an unhealthy lifestyle. Then, ask them to walk in a park or shoot some hoops or something. I know that if we support each other as a community to create a better environment for a healthier lifestyle, we can all stop this obesity epidemic. Thank you.